If you were rebellious as a teenager, you might have thought about quitting school at age 16 and striking out on your own. Or perhaps college just wasn't an option, for whatever reason, and you had to start your career with a minimum wage job. If you did that today, you'd soon figure out that a minimum wage job doesn't really pay enough. And buying a new home on a minimum wage job? Forget about it. But that hasn't always been the case. For example, when Mitt Romney was 16 years old, he would have been paid $1.25 an hour for his minimum wage job. That was the year 1963, when the median price of a new home in the United States was around $17,000. So, if Mitt Romney had quit school at age 16 and worked a 40-hour week, 50 weeks a year, his minimum wage job would have been enough to get him a 30-year mortgage on a new home. That's thanks to the federal government, because the federal government set the minimum wage high enough in 1963, and again in 1967, and again in 1968, that people working a minimum wage job, 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, had enough money to get a 30-year mortgage to buy a brand new home. That kind of security, to know that you could work hard at a minimum wage job and still make enough money to buy food, clothing, and shelter, the 16-year-old Mitt Romney knew that kind of security. But that kind of security was gone by the time Barack Obama turned 16 years old in 1977, and it never came back. Where did that kind of security go? Maybe the same place the money went. Of course, the Vietnam War was expensive in all sorts of ways. But even after the Vietnam War, during Reagan's 8 years as president, for example, the minimum wage stayed put at $3.35 an hour. But those making more than 95% of all Americans, the top 5%, made at least $55,200 when Reagan was elected and at least $91,750 at the end of Reagan's term. In other words, during Reagan's 8 years, minimum wage earners kept getting the same pay, but those who employed them, the business owners, executives, and CEOs, gave themselves more and more. No one should find fault with people for getting rich when they follow the law, but we can find fault with the law, and we can change the law, and not just the law about the minimum wage. My fellow Americans, I urge you to vote for and elect your federal leaders accordingly. The role of our federal government is to secure our self-evident, inalienable rights for all of us, we the people of the United States of America. That role of the federal government is spelled out first and foremost in the unanimous Declaration of Independence. If we choose our leaders carefully, we can again provide the same kind of security in America that the 16-year-old Mitt Romney had. To know that if he couldn't go to college, or even if he could, but could only get a minimum wage job, he could still strike out on his own, work hard, and earn a decent living. Thanks to the federal government. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Yum.